Well, hello, kids of all ages. Does everybody love popcorn? A lot of people think it's their favorite kind of corn. It's certainly one of mine. How would you like to have a lifetime supply of popcorn? All you can eat, anytime you wanted to make some. The way to do that would be to grow your own and save the seeds, some of your favorite kernels. Now this is the variety we're growing. There's many types of popcorn. Popcorn and many other corns come in every color of the rainbow. But look at this. These came from the same plants last year. You'd have many different colors coming out of one stalk with 2 or 3 ears per stalk. 2 ears is good. Sometimes we get 3 in a stalk, as you'll see on some of these. I'm seeing 2s here, but down there I know there's some 3s. Anyway, so you dry it and you pick some of the healthiest looking kernels and put them in a jar and save them. I'm going to do another video on seed saving later, but this is our popcorn so far on July 27th. On about July 2nd, when I was videotaping in here, this was the tallest ones here were about chest high. So in a little over 3 weeks, you can see how tall they've grown, especially down there, where I think the soil was a little more favorable to them. But these are plenty healthy enough. And the peak of this greenhouse is 13 feet 6 inches. So looking down, now go up this way, the ceiling and going down the rows and seeing that this bar right above me is 8 feet, about 8 feet tall. We got a lot of 10 to 12, almost 13 feet down there in July. And remember that old American farmer saying that I told you last time? Well, actually it's going to be further in the video here. Knee high by the 4th of July. That's what your corn's good if it's that tall. Well, what do we have here? Something a lot more vigorous. Well, let's move on down here a bit. And in a minute here, you'll see some of the work that we were doing in the last few weeks, helping these to grow. And these are, I didn't really want them to grow so tall. I just want them to be productive, but nurturing will bring all kinds of results that you don't even plan sometimes. And over here you can see the cucumbers that are just starting. We started harvesting a few of these. This one's grown about 1.5 inches just since yesterday afternoon. Ooh. And we guide them up the strings to use the space very well rather than having them go sideways all over. And so these will go up, growing upward like the corn with the help of these strings. And you just gently, as I showed last time. Oh, there's There's another one that's grown a couple of inches since yesterday. See that bird? So there's lots of little tiny ones that are just starting, and many, many flowers. So any food that you love, you can grow. Many times you have to grow it in a greenhouse. We'll go outside and look at all of our outdoor food, which is most of our food we grow pretty soon. And for now, just look at this. I'm going to continue weeding and mulching, and we'll come back to that later in this video. But right here with these peppers, some red root pigweed has come up, and when they're small like this in this very loose, not compacted, very fertile soil, you just grab them at the bottom and easily pull up the whole root, and then you can leave it on the ground to mulch. Now I started, you'll see some of the early stages of this later in the video. This is the introduction. Okay, so we'll come back and talk more about the benefits of mulching when you weed, and that's good enough for now.
Okay.
Okay, now through the magic of video editing, we'll go back to June 13th and June 28th to see how fast this popcorn grew this tall, where it was June 13th and the 28th when I was in here videotaping about weeding and mulching. So we'll go there, and then we'll come back to July 27th. And that's what we'll do now. Magic video editing. Okay, here we go. Now you can turn it on. So, welcome back. Glad you're here. Today, I'll talk about what's called weeding, and I call keeping an interconnected balance between the cultivated plants and the wild companion plants. And I was going to do it outside in the field, but those plants are just getting started and have already been weeded a couple times pretty well. But here in the greenhouse, we started, well, a few of them lived there all year long, the spinach, kale, and some radishes. But we started planting in April, early April, and they're big now. Even the popcorn is pretty large, and the weeding has already been a continual process. So there's more to see in the greenhouse than out in the field, and that's why we're going to go in here now. Okay. I like the rolling. Someone said it's like a jungle in here. Oh, I'd rather it be like a jungle than like a desert in a greenhouse, and I think the plants prefer this too. So, biodiversity. We have several plants that we're cultivating in here. Popcorn is the corn. You see a Cherokee variety called a Cherokee long ear. We've got some delicata squash, and way back there is some spinach and kale, and more kale and lettuce. Some melons are in there, and more delicata squash here. And you'll see many plants in here that we didn't intentionally cultivate because they volunteered to come in. And so do we kill everything that we didn't plan on being here? Do we feel that this should be more like a desert, or let's say more like a science lab where you only have everything that you want to control in here, and you don't allow your cultivated plants to come near any biological entity that you didn't put in here on purpose? Well, we wanted to imitate the natural world here, which does really fine if it's left alone by humans and allowed to keep its biological diversity and balance. Many plants interacting with each other. So there's a limit to that, and we don't allow things to get too crowded. And so we weed and we mulch. Now when I go back outdoors, we'll talk about the mulching with cardboard again, but didn't do that here in the greenhouse. We have things in beds. The plants are in separate beds, and so we don't need the cardboard in the rows like we have outside. And so I had thought about putting wooden planks in the rows at first time when I built this, and then decided not to do that and allow flowering herbs to grow and just kind of keep them moderate and balanced. So I'm going to describe what grows with our plants and things that we do, like mulching and weeding simultaneously, using the plants like this one here, mullein. Mullein has really big leaves, as you see, and these leaves make a good mulch. As you can see, there's some down there around the delicata squash. I'm going to take this one that's sort of crowding the squash, take one leaf from the mullein plant here, and put it on the bare ground between my other plants. And what mulching does is it keeps some weeds from coming up, or plants that you may not want to have too much of, but it also holds moisture in the soil. So I'm putting a few of those down right now, and you can see ones I put down before that have decomposed a bit, and they put their nutrients back in the soil and provide food options for insects, options other than eating our plants that we cultivate. And again, biodiversity, ecology creating its own balance. These are healthy plants, healthy corn. You've heard the phrase that these American farmers developed some time ago, I suppose. Your corn should be knee-high by the 4th of July. Oh, I should have my video helper in here to show me. But these were knee-high by the 4th of June here in the greenhouse. Now my corn out in the field is shorter, planted later, but it'll do fine too. And a nice, good, deep green color to them, which is another indicator of healthy corn. Like I was showing you with the red corn planting earlier, we plant these, let's close up on this, 4 seeds to a hole. So there you see a good picture of 4 popcorn stalks coming up together. Now here in the greenhouse, we don't have the wind conditions that we plant them close together for outside. But since they can thrive in that way, we plant them 4 together in this very rich organic soil, and it produce more corn that way, as well as the other reason we did it outside was protecting from wind. So there's bunches of 4 all around here, but also in a few cases not all 4 of the seeds came up. There's one with only 3. And so sometimes they only have 3 or 2. Now I want to talk about some of the other plants growing around, or cultivated plants. I mentioned the lamb's quarter. I should say a little bit more about that. Lamb's quarter comes up in healthy soils. So if you see lamb's quarter that's doing good, looking healthy, like these ones, then you know that's good soil. Now, it's also a good vegetable to eat. These leaves are like lettuce with a nice mellow taste to them. They're not too strong in the flavor, but a nice flavor, and they keep longer in the fridge than lettuce usually does. That's another thing I like about them. And then when I have more than I need to eat, and I haven't tried selling lamb's quarter commercially because people don't respect or know lamb's quarter, and they just throw them in the pooled weed piles. So when I have extra, I just put it on the ground like that and use it for mulch. And mulching conserves water, provides nutrients to the soil. It reproduces the natural or mimics the natural activity of the forest floor that you see out there with all the dead plants on it, and the bugs and the decomposing and going back into the soil. So there's a lamb's quarter. There's another succulent here called purslane. Let's take a look at that. Purslane is a ground cover crop. You can also eat it. It's very healthy. It has a lot of the antioxidants and nutrients. Let me pull this back a little. There's purslane. There's a little bit of other plants coming up in it. So purslane protects the soil, and it's compatible with our corn plants. It doesn't hurt anything having it. And you know, one of the reasons you weed is to reduce the competition with your cultivated plants. If it gets too crowded and they're all drawing from the same nutrient pool, you want to do that. But you have to realize that some plants' root systems are shallow and some go very deep, like that mullein. Its roots go very deep. There's another plant around here called mallow. Where's any of that? I'll get to it. Don't see it right here. And also we have a lot of plantain, as you see here, a good medicine plant that's good, close to that there. It's flowering now, the plantain. And their roots go deep too. And so these deep-rooted plants, and there's another one, red root pigweed as they call it. And its seeds are a lot, it's in the amaranth family, and they're very similar. You could